Start with the questions. Those that done with the question, raise your hands in Zoom. Give me a moment. Put on the external webcam. So I'll use the laptop's camera itself. Okay, let's begin now. Yes, hi, walaikum salam. Why is this camera so bright? Anyways, let's start. Yeah, give moment when the setting is up. Okay, so weird. Great. Basically, there's multiple cameras here. Choosing which camera is better. Anyways, let's start. Okay, keep it like this. Then I set up the camera. So yeah, let's start. So now, yeah, because I changed the camera. This lighting is so bad. I don't know why. Zaha, currently, we have finished the fifth lesson. We're going to start the sixth. That's the problem with the. Okay, let's start. Okay, brother. Okay, so really, let's start up. We take the book and yeah, I know it's what to do. The camera. Yeah, but I didn't send it. Well, within the next week, in 2 weeks. It's why it's blood some setting issue. Anyways, I can change it from here. It's a big difference. Okay, let's start. So the first question says, what do you call following is a flowchart designed for a certain task. Find the output of the flowchart. And second thing they mentioned, write the corresponding pseudocode to this flowchart. Let's write it now. Grade 11, it's the fifth one. Okay, let's start. So if you look at this flow chart here, let me on the public chat as well, so you can post it there, the upcoming answers. If you look at this flow chart here, you can see what you call when the program begins itself, there's variable called what do you call there's variable called x equals 21, and then we have a condition is x greater than 15, then we have print x equals x minus 3 kilo. There's a couple of things happening here. So based on that, let's answer this. Okay. I don't like that camera. Let's keep it in useless camera itself. Precious. Is it lagging for this? No. And it's never information. Yeah, Umar, it's just done the Zoom account, so there is some settings changes here started. That's why. Anyways, what do you call to find the output of the flow chart? The more any what do you call any flow chart or else the easiest method which I have taught you all is to draw something called as a dry run. Draw called as a dry run. Okay. Draw so-called thing dry run. First of all, you should know what do you call what are the variables. Actually, variables are only the main thing you should know. What's this? I don't think so. Anyways, what do you call variables are the main thing? Like the okay, I'll switch the network. Okay, I switched networks. Is it better? Okay, perfect. So what do you call to draw the dry run? I asked her. First of all, you should know is you have to figure out what are the variables we have in this program. Okay. So look at this program given here in this question and tell me what are the variables you can notice? What are the names of the variables you can notice in this program? Perfect. There's only one variable we can see throughout the program. That's the variable called x. So I'm going to draw a table with one column for x. Actually, when drawing the dry run, the main important column is only the variables. But there is a certain advantage of writing the conditions as well. We can include the conditions as well in situations where they ask you, okay, how many times did the program run? How many times did the loop run? Till it will work, your work will be easy. That's the main reason. Anyways, if you come to such question, I'll tell you guys it. But for your purpose, better include conditions as well. Look at this whole program and tell me how many conditions you can notice here. Conditions are like questions we have to answer when the program is running. So how many questions or how many conditions you can notice here? Exactly. It's just only one condition. Okay. And what is that condition we have here? What is that condition we have here? Perfect. Is x greater than 15? So I include another column asking, is the value of x greater than 15 kilo? I'm going to include another column. So these are the two main columns, one column each for every variable, only one variable was there. So we included that column. One column each for every condition, only one condition was there. I included that as well. Then you're going to have one common column to include all outputs. So I have one column here called output. Okay. So these are the main columns we have when we are creating the dry run. So now based on the given data, let's fill this table. Okay. So the first question they have mentioned there, what do you called? The first question we have there is find output. No. So let's go to the program and run the program step by step. The first instruction is start. There's nothing that happens when you say start. The second instruction we have is x equals 21, which means we are saying the value of x is 21. So I'm going to go and record here that the value of x is 21. So below the column called x, I noted there that it's 21. The second instruction after that we have is the value of x greater than 15? Tell me at the moment, look at the value of x and tell me, is it greater than 15? Yes or no? We look at the value of x, is it greater than 15? Exactly. Yes, it is greater than 15. Perfect. Okay. It is greater than 15. So I'm going to mention that true. Okay. You can mention that true or false, yes or no, anything is fine. I'm going to just mention here true, but yeah, you can mention yes or no as well. So if it is true, you're going to go towards the yes direction. And here we have the instruction saying the value of x is now equal to x minus 3. So the meaning of this statement is we are saying the new value of x is going to be equal to the existing value of x minus 3. Now, based on that, tell me, what do you think the new updated value of x is going to be after you follow that instruction? Once this instruction has been followed or executed, what's going to be the new value of x? Perfect. X minus 3 means 21 minus 3. That's going to be 18. So I'm going to go here and the value of x is changing. Now the value of x has become 18. Can I go and mention here? Right. Now I go for the next instruction. So if I follow the arrowhead and go for the next instruction, you can see again, we are coming back to that question asking, is the value of x greater than 15? Look at the current value of x and tell me, is it greater than 15? Exactly. If you go and check, is it greater than 15? Yes, it is greater than 15. So I'm going to again go and mention here the part called true. Okay. So because it's true, again, I'm going to follow the arrowhead call yes and go here. And the next instruction we have is x equals x minus 3. Tell me now, if you follow this instruction called x equals x minus 3, what is going to be the new value of x? We're saying x is equal to x minus 3. So at the moment, x was 18, right? So 18 minus 3, that means it's going to be equal to 15. Exactly. The new value of x is going to be equal to 15. Okay. So I'm going to go and write here. I'm going to go and update that the value of x is equal to 15. The value of x has changed to 15. So after that, if I follow the arrowhead and go, again, we're coming back to this question asking, is the value of x greater than 15? Now, if I go and check the value of x, is it greater than 15? Look at the value of x and tell me, is it greater than 15? No. So I'm going to mention here false. Tell me if this condition is giving you false, should you go to the right hand side or should you go down? Right or down? Exactly. Right is for true, but because the condition gave false, we are going to go down. And down we have here the instruction saying print x, which means output the value of x. So look at the dry run currently and tell me what is the value of x at the moment. Perfect. The value of x you can see at the moment is 15. So 15 is going to get output here. So by drawing the dry run, you can make sure that you get a precise answer with less errors or less possibilities for making errors. Okay, so if you got the answer 15 there, you can directly get the answer. You don't have to draw the dry run. You can directly write the answer 15. There is no method needed here. If you got the answer 15 there, put there Okay, I'll take consider a separate question. Put 2 marks there. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. Next. The next extra instruction they have mentioned there, write the corresponding pseudocode for this flow chart. Okay, let's check the pseudocode for this flow chart. Okay, so to draw the pseudocode, we are going to replace each and every instruction one after the other. How can you normally how do we represent start in pseudocode? In pseudocode, we don't use the word called start, right? We use another word. You can, but normally we don't use. But the standard word we use instead of start in pseudocode. Perfect. Without using the word called start, we normally use there the word called begin. So I'm going to mention here, first of all, the first instruction here is begin. Okay. The next instruction we have x equals 21. I can just mention that as it is, x is equal to 21 kilo. I can mention it like this directly. And the next instruction we have is x greater than 15. Now, if an instruction is there inside a rhombus, you very well know that a rhombus represents always a condition. Okay. But now we have a problem in converting this flowchart to a pseudocode. That is, we can find conditions in 2 types of programs. Now, there are 3 types of programs. Now, out of the 3 types of programs, tell me, what are the 2 types of programs you can notice a condition in? Based on the control structure, we can categorize programs into 3. Now, out of these 3, in what control structure programs can you notice conditions being used? Perfect. You can find conditions used in selection type programs and repetition type programs, right? I think for several weeks when we have done these flowchart questions, I have told you all how to differentiate that. Okay, when you're going towards one direction, like for example, S direction, and if another person is going towards no direction, okay, if one fellow is going in S direction, another fellow is going no direction, if both of them can meet at one single point or one single instruction, that's a selection condition. And if they cannot meet at one single point, it's a repetition type control structure. Anyways, look at this flowchart and tell me, is this flowchart representing a selection type control structure or repetition type control structure? What do you think this is talking about? Exactly. It's repetition. Because, for example, if a fellow follows the S direction, he will be meeting the what do you call x equals x minus 3. And after x equals x minus 3, he'll again come to the condition. After the condition, again, he'll go for x equals minus 3. So technically, if a fellow is going in this direction, he will go only for the x equals x minus 3 instruction. And if there's another fellow who is going to go towards, let's say, what do you call the no direction, he will be going to print x and then he'll go to stop. So this fellow will go to only print x and stop. These are 2 places he go for. He goes to, and x equals x minus 3, he'll go for this the yes direction fellow, he will go for the x equals x minus 3 and then the condition again, and he'll be rotating like that and waiting. Okay. Now, if you notice this fellow, the pink color fellow and the brown color fellow, are there any common place they will be meeting after they go to, if after one fellow goes in the yes direction, after they go, another fellow go in the no direction, is there like a common place both of them can meet after they go in the yes and after this fellow goes in no? No. So if they cannot meet, then definitely that's going to be a repetition structure. Okay. Now you have the next question to decide. Because under repetition structure, in your syllabus, you all learn 3 loops, but out of the 3 loops, under pseudocode, you all mainly learn 2 loops. One is you all learn the while loop, and one is you all learn the repeat until loop. Speaking the truth, you can do a same question, same program. You can do in the repeat until loop. You can do in while loop as well. It's possible to do in both the ways. Okay, but normally by looking at the program, you can actually decide what is most suitable to use. Okay, there are 2 things you can here check. First thing you check is a repetition starting? Okay, is a first time the first repetition? Okay, is a first repetition happening before checking the condition or after checking the condition? Before checking condition or after checking the condition. What I mean by that is, you have certain instructions that are being repeated. Like in this program, you can see this x equals x minus 3 is the instruction. We are going to again and again repeat. Like you notice in the pattern, it's again a circular pattern. You notice that was the instruction we again and again repeated. Okay. So we went to that instruction before checking the condition or after. Before or after, what happened? We went to that instruction that x equals x minus 3. That was the instruction that kept on repeating, right? We went to that instruction before checking the condition or after checking the condition. Exactly. We went to that instruction only after we checked the condition. This is one thing to check. Okay. The second thing you have to go and check is you have to go and check what you call is the repetition happening. Okay. Repetition happens when condition is true or when condition is false. When condition is true or is the repetition happening when condition is false. Right. Depending on these two, you can easily decide. Now, in this question, the repetition is happening based on what? Exactly. When condition is true. Okay. So when it's true and only after checking the condition, if this is a pattern that's happening, then definitely it's going to be a while loop. But if it's going to repeat based on the condition false, then it's going to be a repeat until loop. Actually, more than the part about checking whether the repetition happening, whether the repetition is happening before checking or after checking, to decide while loop and repeat until loop, you have to mainly check this fellow only. Okay. You have to check this fellow only to decide whether it's a while loop or a repeat until loop. There is another reason why we check that first thing. The first thing is more respective because there's something called while do loop and do while loop. But again, that's out of the box. You don't have to think about much. But again, keep in mind, if it's after checking the condition, it's definitely while loop. If it's before checking the condition, then definitely it's going to be, not definitely, but most of the time it will be repeat until loop. It can vary in certain situations, but most of the time, if it's before checking, then that's going to be repeat. And if it's going to after checking, it's fine. Okay. So in this question, you can see the repetition is happening after checking, and then when the condition is true only. So therefore, I'm going to use a while do loop. So you start the while do loop using the mention word called while, and then you mention the condition. So here the condition is while x is greater than 15, and then you mention the word called do and represent what has to be done if the condition is true. Okay. Now in this question, if the condition is true, what do you call the first instruction that should happen is x equals x minus 3. So I'm going to mention here, if while x is greater than 15, the value of x has to be updated or modified to x minus 3. I wrote here. Now, after you do this instruction, you can see we again come into the condition. Okay. So if you want only one instruction to repeat and then with that the repetition has stopped. So what you can do is you mention the word called end while. So we write the word called end while to represent that, okay, while loop started from here and while loop has ended here. Whatever is in between, those are the instruction that has to be repeated. And once you repeat, when you reach the end while, go and check the condition again. Okay. That's the purpose of end while. End while is used to show that from where should you stop the while loop. Okay. After end while, whatever you write will happen only when the condition is false. So in this program, tell me when the condition is giving you false, what should happen? What is the instruction that has to be executed? Perfect. The instruction that has to be executed is print x or else display the value of x. Okay, you can use any synonym, it's not a problem. So I'm going to mention their print x here. And then stop. So we represent stop using a word called end. So this is how your program is supposed to be. Let me write it neatly a bit. So print x. Okay. So this is how your program is going to. So you'll be getting marks if you have mentioned the part called, if this part of your answer is correct. If you use while loop and wrote it like this, then 1 mark for that. And then if you have mentioned begin and x equals 20, these are the first two instructions, 1 mark for that. Print x and end as the last two instructions, 1 mark for this. The order has to be proper, okay? Those who got your answers correct, mark it correct. Those who have any questions, drop your question in the chat. Can we use output? Yeah, you all can use any other synonyms as well. Output, print, display, anything is fine. Is the indentation important? Indentation is not important, but better include the indentation because the purpose of the indentation is for reading purpose. So you cannot, I mean, when your answer is neat, there's high chances for you, I mean, there's less chances for you to make mistakes, and there's high chances that the person who's marking will have a problem. Okay. But if you don't write it neatly like this, you write everything at a left side corner, left indentation, what happens is for the person who's marking, it will not be very easy to look at your answer. So sometimes, even if you wrote the correct question, there are chances that they might misinterpret it and mark it wrong. So for safety purpose, I would recommend using indentation properly, but not compulsory. Yes, Mohammed. Okay, over. I think we did last week. But if there are two instructions to be performed under the condition, then input both the instructions within while and while. While and end while, this is used to the word end while is used to show that in between whatever this is written has to be repeated. So if there's more instruction, then before end while, write those more instructions. Simple. Why did you mention do? Because that's a structure. While the condition do. These are keywords. This word called begin, this word called end, this word called while, this word called do, this word called end while. These are all keywords, predefined words. Yes, you can use output text as well. No, sorry. Can you write that input x equals 20? No, these are not input value. Is this an input or is this a process? X equals 21. Is x equals 21 an input or process? Actually, because they are given the flow chart, it's very easy to identify. Do we write inputs inside rectangle? No. Input are the values you get from a user. Are we getting the value 21? Is that the value you are getting from the user? Are we asking, hey, user, give me a number? Is the program getting the number from the user? No. It's a predefined value. Predefined values are process. Only if they use input x, enter x, give a value for x, what do you call the get x, write x, read x, those kind of, if the question represents a situation where that value has to be, the value is not given, there is no value for that, but to get the value from the user, that is only an input. Okay, the value is already defined, so it's directly marked like this. Okay, next. There's another question from the chat. Wait, before we go for the next question, tell me out of 5 marks, how many marks you got here? So there's any questions from the chat. What about these signs? We don't use this. We use the inverted commas only if you have to display a text. If you're going to display a value of a variable, you just mention just the x. If you mention print x, it will display the value of x. So for example, in this program, the value of x was how much? It was 15. So if you put print x, it will output the value as 15. But if you mention print x like this, inside inverted commas, it will display the text, the letter called x. So inverted commas are used if you want to display like a text, not a variable. Out of 5 marks, 1 marks are good. Drop in the chat. If you have any questions, drop in the chat as well. Good. Can use output X. Around 5 times I would have answered that question. Now, one more time you ask that question, I'm going to put you out of the Zoom meeting. I said you can use any synonyms. Okay, I'll give you another 10 minutes. I think 10 minutes is too much. What's the requirement to terminate the loop? 1 minute output. What is output when 15? 1 minute. Okay, I'll give you 10 minutes is too much. Around 5 minutes is enough. Start doing this question. I'll give you all. No, time is now how much? 49. I'll put the time of 5 minutes. And depending on 7 minutes. Yeah. I'll give you around 7 minutes. Start doing this question. If you need more time, I'll extend it to 10 minutes. But yeah, once you're done with this question, raise your hand. It's over. The B, Roman number 1, Roman number 2, Roman number 3. These are 3 questions. Repeat until is also possible, right? Yes, but you have to change the whole logic. You have to change a lot of stuffs. And if you change that way, the whole pro it will not work the exact way. Like in repeat until loop, first of all, you follow the instruction, then only you check the condition. So what if the value of what do you call x was by default itself initially it's a less than 15, then it's wrong in repeat until loop. Because in repeat until loop, it will execute once. So guys, if you're writing in repeat until loop, you'll tweak the question a lot of ways. So it will mess up the whole thing. That's why you not do it. Okay, start doing this. Once you're done, raise your hands, Noma. What does it mean by terminate the loop? Terminate means stop. The word terminate means stop. I all don't have hands up. You all have only thumbs up there. I did not know it. This is again not my soul. This is our Islam's soul. So go and ask Rizlan's why has he opt on for this. Start for fellow. Hands up is there. If he's there, then you can raise your hands. Whatever. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. I'll just quickly do this question. Those who are done, raise your hands in Zoom. Huh? Your time is up. Only how many have finished? Only five, six. Others, do you all need some more time? I can give you 2 minutes, 3 minutes more. Like 6:57, 5:57. I can give you time to six. Do you all want time? Or should I start the discussion? When do you have grade 10 call now? And it was time when it's after grade 11 actually. Just after grade 11. But there's Umar. Okay, I'll give you a time to six. Do it. Yeah, Mahadi. No, no, you'll be getting something. Okay, I'll come to the. Where is my mouse? Adhika, I'll be seeing this week, Adhika. Definitely. Why isn't an NDF included in this program? In this program, why is it? Because these are not a pseudocode. These are Pascal program. In Pascal program, there is nothing called NDF. Only pseudocode has NDF. Yeah, my son. Even though my video is on, I'll drop me a question in chat, I'll be replying. So there anything drop me in chat. In Pascal, there is NVIL command, right? No, no. Pascal doesn't have NVIL, NDF, nothing. We use semicolons in the respective places. I'll show it to you. But have a minute more quick. Okay, let's start. Irrelevant at the moment, Umar. Okay, let's check the answer. Following is a Pascal program which is written to display whether a given number is multiples of 7 or not. Okay, fine. Whether a given number is a multiple of 7 or not. So if you look at the Pascal program, first we have program and then multiples. This part called multiples, that's representing the name of this program. Always when you take a Pascal program, in the first line itself, we might mention a name for the program. We give a name for this program. Any program we write, we mention name in the beginning. Okay. Then you have this portion called var, blah blah, right? This portion we from the part called var, whatever is happening until begin, like this portion. Okay, we call it as a variable declaration. So in variable declaration, we're going to mention what are the identifiers we're going to use, or else what are the variables we're going to use, and what are their respective data types. So for example, you can see there's a variable called n, going to store integer values. There's a variable called result, going to store string values. So in terms of data types, in Pascal, they protect data types. Again, you learn data types in two places. One is database and one is in Pascal. When you take data types in Pascal, the ones we have are, one is integer to store whole numbers. One is real to store decimal numbers. One is string to store text or any characters. And you can have any collection of characters. We have char. Char also can store any character, but it can store only one character. Like for example, if you want to store your results, like oral results might be what you call A, B, C. It's just like for a specific subject's result. A specific subject's result will be only one letter, like A or B or C or S or F or W, whatever. So in those cases, you might use a word called char to represent that data. And then we have Boolean to represent true or false values. Anyways, so what do you call? They have mentioned variable declaration, and then from begin to end, this is where your main program starts. Like this is what is going. This is where you have the instructions that will execute. So we call this portion as the main program. So in the main program only, you will have all the instructions that has to be followed step by step. String is used to collection of characters. For example, take your name. Your name has, let's say, if you take my name, or let's take my name, YOUSUF. There's 6 letters. So that's what one letter. No. If it's only one letter, I can put in char. But because my name has 6 letters, I have to put in string. More than one letter, or more than one character, char. String, only one character, char. So char and string is almost the same kind of. Anyways, if you look at the program, the first instruction is saying write ln enter number, which means write ln is used to display a message. So we're going to say display this message called enter a number. Okay, so we're going to display this message called enter number. What is real? Real is to use for decimal numbers. Then read ln n. So read ln n, what's going to happen here is we're going to take the value the user enters, and the value the user enters, we're going to go and store it inside a variable called n. Fine. Then we have while n is greater than or equal to 7. Okay, so there's a condition here. While n is greater than or equal to 7, we are asking to do some instructions. Now, if you take what you called Pascal, Pascal doesn't have n byte. By default, Pascal doesn't have something called as n byte. So char is one letter or one number. That's why I said, do you know what school we go and study English? What do you mean by any character? I said any character, but it has to be a singular character. Any character means it can be a letter, it can be a symbol, it can be a number, it can be anything, but only one character. Any character, it's only one character, one single digit or one single number or one single symbol, just one single character, that is char. If it's more than one character, for example, your name, your address, your telephone number, these all have more than one character. So those are going to be what you call the string. Coming back to the point, what do you call the, got it? There is no difference for you. What do you call the, by default, while loop doesn't have a end bar. Okay. So normally how it works is if you mention something like this, while n is greater than or equal to 7, do, and let's say write is used to display something. So write hello. It will display the value called hello. It's right. So only this instruction will be repeating. Okay, only this instruction will be repeating again and again and again and again. This instruction will be repeating. Okay. So normal by what happens in while loop is the instruction below it, only one instruction below it will actually repeat multiple times. But if you want to repeat more than one instruction, by default only one instruction will repeat, okay? But if you want to repeat more than one instruction, then you have to use this word called begin and end again. Okay. So normally we can call this as a subprogram. We don't consider this as a subprogram, but if you want, you can call this as a subprogram, which means because there is one program inside another program, we can call this a subprogram. But again, that's not a proper, don't have to remember that thing. The point is, the reason we have used begin and end here inside. Here, if you notice, it's not end with full stop, it is end with semicolon. You can see there's difference between the main program's end and what do you call subprograms end. In the main program end, you have full stop there. In the subprograms end, you have a semicolon. Okay. So keep in mind, if you have only one instruction to repeat, you can directly mention that one instruction below the word called while. But if you have more than one instruction to repeat, then you have to mention that more than one instruction in between this keyword called begin and end with semicolon. Okay. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. I'm not stopping and asking, but if you have, just drop in the chat because I'm checking both parallelly. Then you can see the instruction that has to be repeated. Okay. The first instruction that has to be repeated is you're going to go and check if the value of n is, if value of n mod 7 is equal to, sorry, if the value of n mod 7 is it equal to 0. And if that value is equal to 0, then you have mentioned that the result has to be multiple of 7. Or else the result has to be not a multiple of 7. There's error in this program, but that's not a problem. Okay, result is integer string. Oh, no, it's a string system. Fine. But because or else it has to be result is not a multiple of 7. Then you have write ln. N is the result. Okay, this is going to display something. I'll show you how it gets displayed in a while. Right. And then you have write ln enter number. So we're asking to enter another number. And then another number the user enters, we're going to go and store it inside the read ln. So we're going to store it inside the n variable. There's nothing big in there. I'll show you when running the program. The question is saying, what is the requirement to terminate the loop? Terminate means stop. Okay. Now, here they have used a while loop, right? A while loop will stop when what happens? By default, a while loop will stop when what happens? When who is false? Exactly. You can see between the word called while and do, we have mentioned the word called n is greater than or equal to 7. That's what we call as a condition. So while loop will stop when the condition is actually false. Okay, when the condition is false. So here the question asking, what is the requirement to terminate the loop? To make the loop stop, this condition has to be false. Tell me, in which situation will this condition give you false? Is n is greater than or equal to 7 is there, right? This condition will give you false in which situation? Exactly. Okay. When a number less than 7 is entered, perfect. When a number less than 7 is entered, it's going to give you false. Like, for example, if you go and check, is 7 greater than or equal to 7? This is going to give you true. Or if you go and enter a number greater than 7, for example, if you go and mention, is 8 greater than or equal to 7? That's also going to be true. But if you put a number less than 7, for example, if you go and check, is 6 greater than or equal to 7? Is this condition true or false? True or false? Exactly. This condition is going to give you false. So when they ask you what is the requirement to terminate the loop, then your answer has to be entering a number. What do you call it? The answer for Roman one you had mentioned it. Entering a number less than 7. Okay. Entering a number less than 7. Or if you also mention when the value, what do you call when the value of n is less than 7, both are fine. Huh? When the value of n is less than 7, or entering a number less than 7, because n is basically getting the number you enter. You can see a read n. Whatever number you enter is going to go and store inside the value. So that's the answer for that question. If you had mentioned that answer, entering a number less than 7, or else if you mention the answer, when the value of n is less than 7, put 1 mark here. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. Huh? Next. What is the output when enter 15 as the input? Okay. So they're asking the first instruction when you go, the program starts executing, it'll go from top to bottom. So let me show you how it works. Huh? If the condition is false, is this correct? If the condition is false, no. They're asking you what is the requirement to terminate the loop. That means what has to happen for the loop to stop? Like what do you need? What do you mean by requirement? Requirement, what is needed? The requirement, what is needed, right? So they're asking what is needed to stop the loop. So here, normally if you take a while loop, in general, to stop the while loop, the condition has to become false. So you have to mention how can you make the condition false. You can't just mention the answer when the condition is false. If you just mention when the condition is false, you don't get the marks. You have to mention in which situation the condition will be false. So here the condition will be false. This condition we mentioned here, it will be false only when the value of n is less than 7. And what do you mean by n? N is basically talking about the number we get from the user. So that is why we're saying, that is why we are saying, what you call, when the number less than 7 is entered, the program stops. I mean, the loop stops. Okay. Okay. So to find the output, first of all, you run the main program. The first instruction in the main program is write an enter number, which means a text is going to get displayed called enter number. Then read ln n. It's asking us to give a number for n. So we're going to give the number here for n. So the question says, what is the number we're going to enter? What is the value we are going to give for n? Loop means repetition. Yes, the value of n is going to be 15. So I'm going to mention here the value of n is 15. Okay, so I'm done with this instruction. I'm done with this instruction. Second instruction, I give a value for n. The value of n is 15. Now I come for the third instruction. The third instruction we have is while n is greater than or equal to 7. So I'm going to go and check is the value of n greater than or equal to 7. Tell me, when I go and check this condition, what will be the result of this condition, true or false at the moment? Perfect. When you go and check 15 greater than or equal to 7, that's going to be true. So if a while loop's condition is true, what happens? Should you, what do you call, follow the instructions within the loop? Should you follow the instruction within this begin and end, this subprogram? Should I follow the instructions there? Yes or no? Yes, we have to follow the instruction between the begin and end. Okay, if it's only one instruction, it will be there like this. But if it's more than one instruction, then we'll have begin and end part, and whatever is inside has to be followed. So the first instruction there is if n mod 7 is equal to 0. So the value of n is 15. So when you say n mod 7, we are referring to 15 mod 7. So mod and div, there is something called mod and div, but mod and div means is we're not talking about dividing a number in long division. So for example, when you divide 15 by 7, okay, 7 times 2 is 14, and 1 remain. No. Now if I'm going to go for the next step, it will become a decimal number answer. So in mod and div divisions, we don't go for decimal answers. We keep the answer always only in whole numbers. Okay, until you can get a proper number, we continue. So once you do the long division like this, the value in the top, you can get this value using the div operator. The value in the bottom, you can get this value using the mod operator. So when you say 15 mod 7, we are asking to divide 15 by 7 and get the remainder. So mod is used to get the remainder. So based on that, tell me, when you say if n mod 7 is equal to 0, currently, first of all, tell me, when the value of n is 15, what is going to be the value of n mod 7? When the value of n is 15, what is going to be the value of n mod 7? Correct. You can see n mod 7 is giving you 1. So if you go and check, is 1 equal to 0? That's going to give you true or false. Perfect. That's going to give you false. Okay. So when that instruction is going to be false, tell me, should the value of result be this first one or the second one? Perfect. Normally between then and else, we follow the instruction between then and else only if the condition, if this condition, the selection structures condition, n mod 1 is that if this condition is giving us true, then only we follow the instruction between then and else. We follow the instruction between else and the semicolon. You can know, if you notice properly, you can see in front of result in multiple choice, there is no semicolon. Okay, that's because it is not the end. That instruction is not completed. So whatever instruction between else and the semicolon, that is, sorry, not that semicolon, top semicolon. The end and the semicolon, that is basically talking about the instructions to follow if the condition is false. Okay. So here the condition is false. So we are saying the result is going to be equal to not a multiple of 7. So we are going to mention there not a multiple of 7. Row number 1 just wrote n must be less than 7. Is it correct? Fine. Okay, so the value of n is going to be, so the value of result is, there is no space, so I'll just write in the bottom here. The value of result is going to be equal to not a multiple of 7. I just mentioned not a, and I just wrote there. Anyways, then we have the next instruction saying write ln, n is result. Okay. Now, when you say n is results, you can see certain text here are written inside inverted commas and certain text are not written using inverted commas. But before that, you can see they have mentioned n, comma is, and comma result. So without directly outputting n or directly outputting the word called result, when you do something like these multiple things in brackets, here what happens is all these values are going to be joined together. So the process of joining multiple values together, we call this as, again, concatenation. Again, this word is not there in your syllabus, but better remained by it. Okay, the process of joining multiple values together, we call this as concatenation. Right? So what do you call n is result? So when you take what do you call a concatenation like this, we are asking to join these three values together. You can see only the value called is mentioned inside inverted commas. N and result is not mentioned inside inverted commas because we are referring to, these two are referring to variables, not plain text. These two are talking about variables, and is talking about a plain text. Now, based on that, first of all, tell me currently what is the value of n? N is going to be 15. Okay. And then you have to join that with the word called is. So we're going to mention n, that is 15 is, and then they are mentioning the value of result. Now tell me, result is holding what you call that the value of, so the result is holding that multiple of 7 or not a multiple of 7? Is it multiple or not a multiple? What is being held in the variable called result? Is it multiple or not a multiple? Yes, we found out earlier that result is holding the value called not a multiple of 7. So the output is going to be 15 is not a multiple of 7. Okay, 15 is not a multiple of 7. This is how the output is going to be. And how this sentence was formed is 15 was basically the value of n. The word called multiple of 7 is the value of that variable called result. This is only the plain text used. So all three of them were joined together and displayed at once. So that is going to be the output of this program. This is the output when 15 is entered. And then you go for the next instruction asking to enter another number. So now the program is not finished. We are still waiting for the user to enter another number. So the question is asking what is output when you enter 15 as input? When you enter 15 as input, the main output that we got here is 15 is not a multiple of 7. If you just mention not a multiple of 7, 0 marks. Only if you exactly mention these words correctly, 15 is not a multiple of 7 kilo. Exactly, all three words has to be there. You get there, 2 marks. I only wrote not a multiple of 7 without 15. The answer is wrong, 0 marks. You have to mention exactly 15 is not a multiple of 7 to get the respective marks. What if mention? Mention what? Will the cases affect? Depends on the person marking. Mostly for these question cases won't affect, but better avoid case issues. I show the workings too. There is no workings for this question because logic based. N is on a multiple of 7, 0 marks. It should be exactly 15 is on a multiple of 7. We are either capital letters and simple letters just like the one mentioned the result instruction, right? Exactly, it has to be yes, correct. Like how I wrote N is capital, M is capital. What about the enter number? Even though that is the output, that's not the main output. So you can ignore it. Yes, Usman. The table, you can't show the table as a proof because the table is not completed. No. Since the program has not finished, we are again stopping. The program stops in this and we're waiting for the user to enter another number. So technically, whether you draw the table or not, you're not going to get it. the marks is not going to get changed. As long as, even if you drew the table lets you have put a column called output, in that you have mentioned 15,000 is not output. The table you have mentioned, here you have not mentioned, front of the question, you don't get marks. Make sure mention properly the place it's asked. Next, draw the flowchart which base to write this program. What the English, man. Anyways, let's write the program. Where should I draw the flowchart? I'll draw the flowchart on the bottom. So here the first instruction we have there is begin. So I'm going to write the begin as start here. Tell me, in flowchart, do we mention what you call the program name, then data, what do you call type declaration? All those stuff do we do in flowchart? No, we don't do all those stuffs in flowchart. We just directly mention the program. So it's going to be something like this. Why is the text going to fly there? Start. Second instruction we have there is write ln enter number. So that should be output. Enter a number. Because it's output instruction, we had mentioned inside parallelogram. And then the value the user entered, we'll store it inside a variable called n. So you have mentioned input n. You can directly mention input n, or you can mention here input number entered as n. Not a problem. You can even ignore these two statements, and you can, instead of writing two different statements, you can directly mention input n as well. That's also correct. I'm just converting exactly how it there. So input number as n. Next we have while n is greater than or equal to 7. So for that you have a rhombus to draw. Is a value of n greater than or equal to 7. If it is greater than or equal to 7, then another condition is that if n mod 7 is equal to 0, is the value of n mod 7 equal to 0. If yes, result is equal to multiple of 7. If yes, then result is equal to multiple of 7. I'm not writing neatly when I'm drawing, or to make sure to write and draw it neatly. Yeah? If it's no, its result is not a multiple of 7. Result is equal to not a multiple of 7. That's a rectangle actually. Wait, let me read it properly. Look to the parallelogram. These two rectangles are process. Next. After the result is not a multiple of 7. Next we have write ln n is result. So output n. Normally in pseudocode concatenation, we use a plus symbol. So n is result. And then Write ln enter number. That is basically directly you can mention input number, input in. If you want, you can break it to do again here. If you want, you can break it to do different statement. Output enter number, then input number as well. Or let me make it exactly the question. That's basically output enter number. And next should be input number. As well. Again, you can replace these two with these two different statements. You can directly mention input in. That's also correct. Once that is done, you again go and check this condition. If this condition is false, the program end. So yeah, this is how the program looks like. You can draw the arrows here and a bit more nicely. Mine's not neat and nice, but this is how the flowchart should be. Why did you put output enter number? Why you can't see in this program? There's something called write ln enter number. What do you mean by write ln? Write ln is output. So we ask to output the message called enter number. I wrote n is equal to enter number and then input number. No, n is equal. It's not a process. N is equal to enter number is wrong. It should be only input number. Is it necessary? Not exactly. For flowchart, you can directly mention input. Not a problem. Can't you write the display n is not a particle of 7 for the no part in the condition where n mod 7 equals 0? Result is equal to n is not a multiple of no. Then you're not following the program, no. You're just writing your own logics. You write the question. You have to make sure that the question asked to convert that. So you have to make sure maintain the same logic. Instead of input number, I wrote enter number. That's fine. Synonyms are no problem. Any other questions? Number description will change you have. So in this flow chart, if you got a flow chart exactly like this, I'll let you know. So you can mention like output enter number and then input enter number or directly enter number. Okay. For this portion, technically, you're going to get 1 mark. Then output, then for mentioning a condition like this, and yes and no direction properly like this, the no direction going to end, yes direction going to n mod 7 equals 0. Okay. So the yes direction going for n mod 7 equals 0 and no direction going to end. Put another 1 more mark here. Then if you mention the yes part correctly, if yes is result is equal like this, no is result equal this. And once both are done, both have to come to this part called output n plus is results. Instead of plus, if you use comma, it's fine, but make sure you, next time for the exam use plus. Because in certain place you might see dot, certain place you might see plus, certain place you might see comma. Anything is fine, but better you use plus. If you put comma also fine, correct? Put 1 mark there. Without making the arrowhead from here, come and touch the other arrowhead. If you want, you can directly make it come and touch the this condition, the what you call shape as well. Without directly touching the arrow, you can make it touch the shape as well. That's fine. 1 mark there. And after that, if you had mentioned output enter number or input number, technically this part correctly. Whether you had mentioned output or else input, anything is fine. 1 mark here. You have to make sure that after this is done, it's going in, connecting back to the condition. Okay. So both has to be checked, not just where with the input end. This marks is broken, this last marks is broken for this statement plus this arrowhead both. Only if both are there properly, it's correct. So put your markings like this. Why are we drawing rectangles instead of parallelograms? Parallelograms are used for input output. Only in input and output shapes, a parallelogram is used. So here, if you notice the input output statements, I've used parallelogram. Here, they're input output. But if you take rectangle, rectangles are used for process. Process means like giving a value. So saying x equals 5 is a process. You're not going to get the value from the user. It's a value given by the program itself. Okay. So result is equal to, they are all actually talking about rectangles. Correct? Now tell me out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In this question, out of 7 marks, how many marks have I got? Others got any questions, drop in the chat. Out of 7 marks, how many marks have I got? If you have any other questions, drop in the chat. Good job. Others, make sure do the corrections. I hope you're having a separate writing book for paper class and writing all these answers there and correcting when you make mistakes. How can I get 14 when the total mark is 7? I said 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just this portion. Okay, so with that, we're done for the day. We discussed the programming question. We're done. I think we're done with this paper then. An HTML question, but I'll talk an HTML question later. We can do this word question if I want 6 and 7. 7 is done in class, I guess. Anyways, what do you call those who have any question or can stay and ask, otherwise I can leave. We're done for the day. How was it, Isra? And how do you find the HTML question in school exam? That you asking about the exam. The exam, physical, those who did the paper, your MCQ is already marked. Part 2 is getting marked. If you want, I can give you MCQ marks in the class this week. Online also, it's getting marked. You will get the MCQ's answers early. Let's see. Your marks will be good. Hmm. Within the 2 weeks. Not, I don't think this week, but probably the week after. The next week, technically. Okay, as I did not get any other questions relevant, I'm going to end the meeting. Tell them to WhatsApp me and get them solved. Have a nice day.